everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Lori. It's a new week, it's a new month, it is holiday season. Welcome everybody. I want to talk to you about happiness being a choice. That's right, I said it and I mean it, and I'm here to represent that. And because people like to put happiness onto other people. They're happiness stealers. There are happiness stealers. You might be one of them. Don't be. Just because you're in a mental space that isn't maybe in its best, maybe you're in a negative space, that's for you to deal with. Don't project that onto other people. But your happiness is a choice. I didn't say what makes you happy. The idea of happiness. And I'm going to tell you right now, you guys know I do mindfulness, I do meditation, and I do a lot of manifestation. And if your mindset is negative, you can't be negative, hold grudges, be angry, and then go, I'm peace, love, and happiness. No, you're not. Now you're just trying to pretend that you can be miserable over here, but be happy here. That's not how the universe works. So if you are holding resentment, if you're holding anger, if you're holding a grudge, which I guess is resentment and anger, if you're comparing yourself, if you're living in a space of jealousy, if you're trying to understand somebody's why, you're not freeing your space. All good things to see if it works with you. I'm not asking you to put on blinders and pretend none of those things happen. They do happen. But as you put on those blinders, you're missing the fact that you are in control of your happiness. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are in control of the mindset of happiness. See, when people hear you're in control of happiness, you're like, nuh-uh, I can't change my bank account overnight, or I can't do that. I didn't ask you to do those things yet. But it's a mindset shift. Because unless your mindset is shifted, you're not even going to look for the ways to change it, to accumulate those things externally that can add to that inner joy and that inner happiness. Because inner happiness is not going to come from money. It's not going to come from a relationship. It's not going to come from friendship. It's not going to come from weight loss. It's not. That's not going to bring you inner happiness. That is a mindset shift that you have got to work through. So you say, how do you do that, right? Well, boom, you're not just going to make it happen. You got to be willing to walk through the fire of your old traumas. You got to be willing to do that. And guess what? It's not going to be overnight. It might take years. It might take decades. You just don't know, because it's going to be about you being consistent. If you're not living consistently, you're going to have inconsistent results. So if you decide, I'm only going to do the 5 journals when I feel like it, well, then you're only going to get, when I feel like it, growth. See, that's the big thing. That's a mindset. You keep saying, I want the motivation, I want this, I want that. Motivation's not real, baby. It is a mindset to say, is this going to move the needle forward? Number one, and we've talked about this before, you got to know your why. Is it important enough for you? It better not be for everybody else. Don't do a why because mom wants me to do this, husband wants me to do this, friends want me to do this, society wants me to do this. No. That's not a good enough reason why. That's a conforming, people-pleasing reason. Hard pass. Hard pass. Okay, so you got to be willing to be walking in your own path. And sometimes that path is going to be alone. And the reason that I love when people are alone and when I've been alone, you don't have to love it. But if you don't enjoy your own company, and I mean really enjoy it, really know who you are, stop expecting other people to do that. Stop expecting other people to well, they want to spend time with me. Why? You don't want to spend time with you. Well, that's hypocritical. See, it's a mindset shift. We know you can be negative and all of these things based on your experiences and your trauma. We know this. That's nothing new. I'm not telling you anything new. But unless you're willing to expose yourself to it, relive it. So when I do shadow work with people, it's a lot deeper than inner child work. And I do not do this on your own. Don't go buy a shadow work book and be like, hey, I'm going to do some shadow work. You're not. Because you have to be almost taken to the brink of breaking, right? Because you're not going to break. You're not going to break. You've already survived your trauma. You're not going to break to revisit it. I promise you that. You're going to feel like you will. And that's good, because that's where that power comes from. But if you're not willing to invest in yourself, time, money, effort, consistency, time, money, effort, consistency in yourself, then are you really a priority? Right? So let's say you don't have the money at the moment. You have the time. Everybody has the time. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. If you're important for you, you can find that time. Consistency, that's all in your hands, baby. Well, I mean, I started, believe you me, I am writing an entire chapter about me being the best starter on the planet. I have not always been the best finisher. And a lot of that comes from trying to do too much at one time, trying to be everything at one time, trying to get something done with unrealistic expectations. I am the queen of that. Luckily, I've started to rechange that. That's why I pushed my book out a little bit, because yeah, it's important. Yes, it's going to be good when it comes out. I'm excited for it to come out, but there's other things that I need to do before that. Okay, to just kind of wrap up. I'm in the end of the year, you have taxes, that's very important. That has to be done before I finish this. Now, do I want to do it all in a week? Absolutely. Is it realistic? It is not. Mindset shift. Your inner happiness is a choice. Your mindset is a choice. But what happens is we're all on automatic. I get the whole pessimism. I get the whole living negative. I understand you. But if you live there, you're not going to get different results. If you're going to live negative, live victim mentality, if you're going to live there, you can't live there and then look and go, I want amazingness. It just doesn't work that way. So until you're willing to work through to find your happiness, to realize that you choosing to be happy means choosing to release things that no longer serve you, letting things go that you're holding resentment for, not living as a victim to your circumstances. Yes, that's direct and that's honest. And there's going to be a whole podcast on it. But it is important that you realize that you are making a choice to complain. You're making a choice to complain. If you're complaining about work, if you're complaining about somebody at work, you are making a choice to complain. Different if you're trying to work something out and you're like, okay, this person is creating, for me, I feel as though this person's creating an environment for me, Okay, it's okay to look at it and analyze it for yourself. Don't judge it. Don't complain about it. Vent about it, talk about it, work through it. But don't complain. It's one thing if you're talking to me or you're another counselor or whatever about it. That's different, right? You're not complaining. You're working through it. You're saying this is what happened. But if you're contributing to gossip or you're talking to your coworkers about those things, then you're not moving the needle forward. You're choosing to be negative. That's a choice. See, a lot of times when you feel as though you're uncomfortable or you're wrong, somebody's wronged you in some way, you're looking for other people to validate that. Yes, that person's wrong. But how do you know that that person's wrong? That person does things the way that they do them. You don't always have to like them. If it really bothers you, then you think about, hey, I got to get a different job. And yes, if you're the one with the problem, you're the one that gets the different job. It's a mindset shift. It's a happiness shift. If you're deciding to prove some kind of point by staying at the job longer than you need to because you don't want Becky in finance to win, well, that's on you. And if you go, well, why do I have to leave? You're the one with the problem. People don't have to change for you. Mindset shift, happiness shift. And understanding that happiness isn't, believe you me, if you give me $1 million, I'm going to be pretty excited. But that eventually is going to go, okay, now what do I do with this? What all do I need to take care of? There's a level that comes in where that instant dopamine hit will go away. And now you have to, okay, it takes away some issues, but it creates other issues and more money, more problems, right? But that isn't going to create that mindset shift. And when you are choosing to be happy, you're choosing to understand it isn't always going to be great. It's not always going to be great. Sometimes it is going to be like, are you kidding me right now? Is Ashton Kutcher going to jump out and say I'm big punked? No, it is not. Does not mean that you're choosing to be happy and everything's going to be good in the hood. It is not. But you're choosing to not give in to the response of the negativity to where you're living in the victim. If you're not consistent with prepping your week, if you're not consistent with your journaling, if you're not consistent with your meditations, if you're not consistent with moving your body, if you're not consistent with hydrating, you're not going to get consistent results. And then you're going to feel upset and bad about yourself. Now you're sabotaging yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. But most importantly, know that happiness is a choice. You damn skippy it is. People hate to hear that because they want so much for it to be somebody else's problem. And it's not. It's a mindset. It's to understand that things aren't always going to go for plan A. They're not always going to work that way. It's not always go on your time trajectory. But ask yourself, are you being consistent? Not consistently trying. Are you being consistent in doing? Right? And that does help with that choice of happiness.